This is your girl R. Welcome back to my channel. And I just wanted to talk about this whole Surviving R. Kelly docu-series. But since the series aired, I've read some really troubling comments online. I've read everything from men calling the women and girls involved in the series hoes, to groups of black people who believe the powers that be are trying to take R. Kelly down and destroy his legacy. There are even those who believe because white men in the industry have done this without repercussions, that R. Kelly should be excused. So I just wanted to take this video here and use it to unpack some of this silly think. All right, let's address the idea of the girls and women being hoes. So many of R. Kelly's victims were 14, 15, and 16 years old. R. Kelly was a fully grown man at the time. So even if these young girls were being pimped out, the final decision to have sex with these girls was in R. Kelly's hand. No normal, mentally and spiritually healthy man would buy a 15-year-old prostitute. And the idea that R. Kelly did not know how old they were, in my opinion, that's also silly talk. Every adult man I know is able to identify an underage girl, especially a 14, 15-year-old underage girl. You don't spend years of your life as a man dating and interacting with women and not be able to identify when a girl is 14 or 15 years old. That's ridiculous. So now let's touch on the older women in the docuseries. Are they hoes? All right. Before I give my opinion on that, let me just set some particulars here. I'm not going to. I don't want this to sound like I'm victim shaming. I also don't want to really call these women victims per se. My thing is, none of these women were, from what I watched, from what I gathered from the docuseries, none of these women were raped, and none of these women were held against their will, meaning like gagged, tied, and bound at any of his compounds. The thing with the Me Too movement, it's like, men abusing their power. But with that, with the idea that a woman can be so easily duped into having consensual sex with a man because he's abusing his power, I feel like that kind of says, okay, women are not smart enough to be able to identify situations that they're walking into and avoid them, identify negative situations that they're walking into and avoid them. It's like, in a way, saying that women do not have enough good intelligence to say no and make a smart decision for themselves. So in regards to the women involved, a lot of the women, the adults of this R. Kelly thing that were involved, they were victims of their own stupidity, their own ignorance. Honestly, am I saying that R. Kelly's not at fault? Definitely not. He's a pedophile. We're not. That's been established. We're not moving away from that. That's the stance. He's a pedophile. But the grown-ups, the adult women who were victimized by this guy, they're victims of their own stupidity. So now let's go back to the whole, were these women hoes? Okay. Were they actual, real hoes? I have no idea. Were they pimping themselves out for an opportunity? Were they risking it all for an opportunity? Were they YOLOing it for a possible opportunity? Absolutely. Absolutely. Sparkle, Drea, Kelly, all of the adult women who were involved with R. Kelly, who got somehow duped. The woman who was at his trial, the super fan who was at his trial, and then later ended up being quote unquote victimized by him. All of these women were victims of their own ignorance and their own stupidity, because they were willing to risk it all to either have the fame, or the money, or just boost their ego in being able to say, "Oh, I date R. Kelly," or, I was picked by R. Kelly. So it was either ego, money, or fame that caused these women to risk it all to deal with this guy. Because I as an adult woman, if you even have rumors, the kind of rumors that R. Kelly has had and still has circulating around him, if you even have those rumors circulating around you, I'm not effing with you. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm not risking. I'm not even risking that. I'm not involving that energy, getting involved in that energy. I'm not bringing that into my life. I don't even want to try to figure out your puzzles, your enigma. I don't have time. I'm not doing that. And I would make that conscious decision for myself, because I'm a grown up. I can make decisions to take care of myself, and, I'm wise enough. The adult women, that's the problem that I have with the adult women in this docuseries, is that none of these women were drugged. None of these women, to my understanding, were raped, and none of these women were held against their will with him. It seemed like they could easily get up, get their junk, and move and leave. Yeah, he was psychologically, he was threatening them, saying that their families or whatnot would be hurt, but they could have avoided the situation altogether, just by paying attention to what was going on, and being a bit more observant. So for the adult women, were they hoes? I don't know. I don't know. One of the women on there, she was a radio DJ, and she willingly left her job because it sounds like to me she was just enamored with the idea of, like, R. Kelly being into her, because she wanted to leave, and then she decided she wasn't going to leave because he wanted her to come out and be on stage. And for her, even though she had kind of gotten the idea that this guy was monumentally effed up, the fact that she could now come out on stage and be a part of his performance, that was enough right there for her to just throw it all away, to be on stage and be that chick that's on stage and everyone's jealous of her, and she's the one. These adult women, they were victims of their own stupidity. Sparkle was a clown when this first went down, and she's still a clown because you introduced your 12-year-old niece to someone with those types of allegations around them, swirling around them. You don't take chances like that with kids. Who takes chances like that with kids? Yeah, she's a clown. And she was just out for the fame and out for the career boost. So I kind of don't want to, out of respect for the many women out there who have actually been raped and victimized by men, I am reluctant to call these adult women who were involved with R. Kelly more than just victims of their own stupidity. All right, so let's dig into the idea that this this whole thing is orchestrated and is a strategic takedown of R. Kelly. So for the people who believe that, my question is, what has R. Kelly done for the Black community? What has R. Kelly done for Chicago? I guess I should Google this. I guess I should Google. But I feel like if he been active in the Black community in any kind of way that was beneficial, I'm pretty sure we would know about this somehow because everything's everywhere now. Information is all over. I I'm sorry. I've never actually heard of him doing anything beneficial for the black community. I've never actually heard of him doing anything for Chicago that was substantial. Um, I mean, what has he contributed to the growth of black people as a whole? As a whole, I, his music catalog benefits me, my people, and my community in no way at all. In no way at all. He doesn't, let's just face facts. R. Kelly doesn't actually have a legacy worth destroying. He doesn't. Moving on. Next, I want to touch on the idea that white men did it without punishment. So, why is there such a witch hunt for R. Kelly? Of course, race is going to be a part of this, but I'm not so sure that it should be because wrong is wrong. So, let me say this I don't care what kind of moral standard other cultures or races of people have. As a black woman, this black man molesting young black girls deserves punishment. Period. Period. White people do not set the moral standard of the world. The whole thought process of R. Kelly being targeted because he's black is flawed. He's being targeted because he's a pedophile. He's the most dangerous kind of pedophile. He's the kind of pedophile who can afford to buy his victims instead of snatching them up from schoolyards. Do you understand that? If R. Kelly wasn't R. Kelly, if he was just plain old Robert down the street who raped and or kept young underage women in his basement for his own sexual gratification, you would want his ass off the streets and you wouldn't care how the white people of suburbia handled this kind of situation in their community. You wouldn't care. You wouldn't be looking to your white neighbors to see how they handled it or how they dealt with the pedophile that was in their neighborhood. You'd be solely focused on this dude and getting him off your block. No? Honestly, stop it. People really need to stop with the horse shit and accept the fact that their fave is a pedo who deserves jail time. There is no longer, in my opinion, there is no longer any doubt that R. Kelly has and does sleep with underage women. He has a problem. In my opinion, this was identified back when he was dealing with Aaliyah. Aaliyah took a lot of the heat. Yeah, she kind of took the hit as if she lied to him. Like she lied and pretended like he didn't know her age. But he knew her family, he knew her uncle, he knew her age. She had it was unfair for her to bear the brunt of that back then. He knew what he was doing. So, I mean, he's been flawed. He's been canceled even as long as 1995. I don't understand why people still stand for this guy, why people still root for this guy because of his music catalog. Are you serious? So, there are no excuses for him in my book. People need to wake up. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. You may not be touched or you may not have empathy or be touched by the adult women that were involved, but surely you can recognize the very underaged women, the very underaged girls. Surely you can recognize that that is wrong and that there is no excuse for that. And that even if those girls did lie about their age, we saw pictures of them in their youth and they were visibly young. There was no denying that. There was no mistaking those girls for 20-somethings. No. And then the whole Aaliyah thing, let me say this. Oh my gosh. Because her mom really hit a nerve. Aaliyah's mom is still standing firm that she was with her all of the time. This woman is so full of guilt. This is why, in my opinion, she doesn't allow Aaliyah's music. She's so tight with all of Aaliyah's artistic creations, because I feel like there's a huge level of guilt that this woman has. Um, it's like Tupac and Biggie's mother, they have no problem with releasing that music and reintroducing new groups of people, new generations to the music, creating new fans. I mean, there's no problem with that. They understand that their sons had fans who love them, right? Aaliyah's mom is very guarded. She doesn't want to do any movies about her daughter's life. She doesn't. What are you hiding? What are you hiding, ma'am? That's my question. What are you hiding? And I don't think she's hiding anything about Aaliyah per se. I think she's hiding her very flawed judgment as a parent. So let's get this straight. She says she was everywhere with Aaliyah when blah, blah, blah. This never happened. She was everywhere with Aaliyah after this happened. When this occurred with R. Kelly, she was not being vigilant. She left it all up to Barry. She left it all up to Barry, who gave no F's at all. He threw his niece right into the lion's den. After this went down is when mom kicked into gear and started to be very vigilant in what Aaliyah was doing, how she was dressing, how things were set up around her. She was very vigilant in making sure that if she wasn't there, the dad was there or the brother was there. It was after the fact. We all know this. We know this. We know this. So her coming out, standing against this, she's standing against this, trying to kind of like pull, in an attempt to pull her daughter's name out of the drama. But this is so much bigger than Aaliyah. It's so much bigger than her daughter's name and her daughter's legacy, which she's really not doing anything to try to promote anyway. She's not actually working with anyone to try to, she's not even working, she doesn't work with Timberland and Missy to try to put music out and actually enhance her daughter's legacy. She just wants everything to be just untouched. It's like, literally, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? So this is so much bigger than just her daughter. This is so much bigger than her the brand Aaliyah. You know what I'm saying? So I feel very agitated that she would come out knowing that other 14, 15, and 16-year-old women or kids, let me say kids, have been impacted by this guy, and she's going to stand against bringing him down. You know why she's standing against bringing him down? Because if she'd made a statement saying, yeah, that happened, he did that to my daughter, then all eyes would shift to her and say, Mom, so why didn't you report him so that it didn't happen to all of these other girls? Mom, why didn't you say something so that all of this could have been negated? That's why she's like, no, it never happened. It never happened because I don't want to take the blame. I'm still battling with it myself. I haven't come to terms with the role I played in it. It never happened because I don't want my daughter's brand to be affected by it or pulled into it. Your daughter's brand is already affected by it, my darling. Your daughter's brand started with the whole R. Kelly thing. Like, you cannot tell Aaliyah's origin story without R. Kelly. You dig? So her mom's statement, I just wanted to just punch her in the throat. I'm sorry. Just punch her in the throat. For some reason, I literally feel like all of the adult women involved in this R. Kelly web, they just need to be shook. But anyway, I feel really bad for all of the underage 14, 15, 16-year-old girls who were not yet confident enough, who were not yet standing in their power, you know, and understanding the way that the world works. I feel bad for that group of young women who were impacted by his decisions, and his choices, because they were literally starstruck and not able to make the decision. They just had not lived enough life. They had not, again, come to stand in their own power to be able to make the good decision. And he genuinely took advantage of those young women. These older women over here, though, these older women, nah, dog, nah, nah. Wipe your tears, baby. Wipe your tears. Especially the one who was at the trial. Y'all, I could talk about this docu-series for a long time in terms of like the adult women, but I will not, because I don't want this video to be any longer than it already is. But leave your comments down below and share your thoughts. We can talk it out. All right. Thanks for listening. A holla.